All right, this is Mike again, back at PAX Unplugged 2021, and I'm here again with a whole cast of great folks. I'm here with Mark Anderson from Mondo Publishing. Let me hand the mic to you.
Hello, everybody. This is Mark Q. Anderson from Mondo Publishing, and I have to say that the last time that I saw you face-to-face, Mike, was, I believe, it might have been in person, PAX 2019. Was the last time I saw you in the flesh. That was the last time I saw you face to face. We've connected so many times on video and everything else, but I think the last time I actually saw your visage in the flesh was 2 years ago, and at the last Unplugged. So it's wonderful to see you.
Great to see you too.
And this is Rick Wheeler with Mondo Kane. Yeah, I think I saw Mike again at PAX East, but it's been a one half of a year where we get to miss out on all these good people and good connections. And while we may have gotten to know each other a lot more via games we played online and things, it's good to sit down again and have these kind of talks. So,
yeah, it's been a rough couple of years for everybody. But one of the cool things that came out of 2021 is that Rick and I decided that we were going to leave Gehenna Gaming and spin off our own game development publishing company. Because that was something that we started really digging in when we were working on the Red Opera from Apotheosis Studios. We wrote a scenario for Penny for a Tale's Necrobiotic, and we were starting to do supplements, and it got to a point where we had this creative outflux and outflow of inspiration. So at a certain point, all the streaming that we were doing, and that's pretty much what Gehenna Gaming is mostly streaming content. We got to a point of, okay, we want to focus in on this, so let's go off and do our own thing. And probably, I want to say, 6 months developing the concept before talking to anybody about it.
Yeah, I think we officially broke off in August, and it was very much we're doing what we like to do best, and Ian is doing what he likes to do best, which also includes events. They are here at PAX Unplugged, which is great, running games. But yeah, no, Mark and I worked really well together, publishing and writing these different books, to the point where they all flowed together very seamlessly.
Yeah.
And we were able to birth these great scenarios with such little effort. It was such kind of a magic kind of thing. So it's something we wanted to definitely keep going, and Mondo Kane came out of that. And so we're looking at some great projects coming up in Q1 of 2022, and shortly after PAX Unplugged, we'll be announcing some more members of our core team, which we've been recruiting slowly, steadily, but purposefully, making sure that we make the right choices, the right connections, and more importantly, get the right people involved.
I do want to talk about that for a second, though, because I know that there's a lot of people who come together and say, you know what, let's just make a company and make cool friggin' games, and let's just do it. And, because of my background, I'm in marketing. I have 2 degrees, and, Rick and I both have been in this industry and really paying attention to how other people do it. And it seems like there's so many people and so many companies, not to, throw shade, but that they approach it and they think that it's going to kind of do it for them. And all you need is passion for the hobby. And it takes a lot more than that. I mean, you really have to have a purposeful and strategic approach, and that's something that we keep repeating to ourselves over and over again. Let's be purposeful, let's be strategic, let's be careful and not rush into things. So it's been, hey, we announced it, MondoCanePublishing.com. Here's our website. Okay, we got a little bit more, but we're not quite ready to really talk about what games we have, because now we're in seed phase and bringing team together and making sure we're picking the right people, writing a business plan. Talking to printers and getting all the logistics and financials and everything else all set, and that's just boring as hell for a lot of people, because it's fuck, I just want to roll some dice and make some awesome games.
But it's entirely necessary, and it's great when you have a great idea and you want to get people together and you've got those friends involved. But at the same time, excitement's a good wind, but it's for propulsion, but it's not the boat.
Yeah,
you need a solid structure. You need a game plan, and you got to make sure that you're not making decisions hastily.
I like it. Thank you for that kind of introduction to Mondo Publishing. We'll talk a bit more about that as well. But joining us as well, we have Jen. I'm sorry we didn't go through all of the introductions, but there's a lot of passion, a lot of excitement.
Hi, I'm Jen Brazis. I go by Savage Sparrow on the internet, and I run Savage Sparrow Studios, a really awesome website for nerdy apparel and accessories. And I've also done a lot of artwork and design for various tabletop games as well as streaming. I've been on Gehenna's streams. Mark was on my stream. Rick's been on my stream. Yeah, we just finished up our Dune game by Modifius. It was incredible.
Interesting.
But what I wanted to piggyback on saying that is basically like the best advice that you can give anybody going into any sort of, industry where passion is used as the fuel to get things done is basically like make sure you have a plan for your future beyond just hopes and dreams. Look at revenue streams, look at monetization, very much, put those things on paper and plan it out and run those numbers so that way you can be like, aha, this is something that can be sustainable, because hopes and dreams, like, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to get upset. You're going to fun into adversity and bad things. And it's very important that, you can have that on paper to look at and be like, okay, so this is the rough spot right now, but this is my plan. I'm going to be okay. I'll make this through because, while it's rough right now, I have a plan of attack.
It can be really tricky, and Jen's a real expert when it comes to her own business with Savage Sparrow Designs. And you go from con to con and sell these amazing shirts. But you're extremely hardworking and passionate about these things. And I think you make some good points. If you start off with just the hopes and dreams and wild-eyed excitement, the first hurdle you reach, or where you really stumble, it can really knock all of that wind out of your sails and be a devastating moment. And getting up from those moments and able to continue to keep doing things is fantastic. But if you don't have the ability to do that or a game plan, and you've got people involved who also want you to succeed, or you might have team members, the whole thing can come crashing down very quickly. So I think these are all really good points, and hopefully the people who are listening out there, if you're wanting to get into the industry, not only have a game plan for what you want to do and a foundation and logistics, but I lost my train of thought, so I'm going to pass it to Mark. Oh, my mistake. So we have with us as well our dear friend Nola Fanger, DJ Toreador, Joe Pitts from Montgomery by night. Joe, you probably have a ton of insights as well, being in this industry.
Hello. Hi, I'm back. Piggybacking off what you said, doing your dream is fun, and then it gets heartbreaking at some points. There is a lot of adverse words. English is my first language, guys.
It's Sunday.
Yeah, and it's Sunday. I've been running a game. So I'm trying to get back into the swing of it. So, it's also, it's a journey. It's a journey. It does not happen quickly. But do enjoy it while you're trying to make something.
One thing that Mark and I took a good long look at before we launched Mondo Cane was other Kickstarters. And, we had worked, like Mark said, with Red Opera and a couple other Kickstarters. But take a good hard look at what other people are doing and see where they succeed, but also see where they stumble and try to learn from those mistakes without suffering them yourself. That's some great insight. Study it before you get into it. Like, really understand not only the industry, but how things work. And I think you'd be better off for it if you're trying to get into this.
Interesting. Rick, you just opened up the can of worms right there, and that's the decision. Are you going to go with traditional publishing? Are you going to go with Kickstarter and the kind of more pre-order model? Can you guys at Mondo Cane Publishing kind of give some insight into which path you decided to take?
Yeah, so there's a couple of phases to the business development of Mondo Cane Publishing. And so with each of these thresholds, it's a continued justification of our existence. So as we pass these thresholds, it becomes like a measure of success. That very first measure of success is our first game launch. That game launch is going to be crowdfunded. Whether it's through Kickstarter, I don't know yet. We're still having conversations about that, especially with some of the stuff that's going on with Kickstarter now, which I'm not going to get into. But it will be crowdfunded at first, but our long-term plan is to have one big tentpole title every year, and around that there's going to be like supplements, community content. We're going to be looking at having material that's not necessarily crowdfunded, but is available through, the e-commerce website that we're going to be standing up at some point next year. So I guess I hate to say both, but both. But at first, definitely, like crowdfunding that first game is super, super important to be able to use that money to pay everybody that's involved developing that game, make sure everybody feels good about what we're doing, and then going, okay, with what money that we have left, how can we invest it back into Mondo Cane and start the process all over again and just keep going with that momentum.
Yeah, keep pushing that engine and turning the next gear in the wheel, so to speak.
And it's difficult too, because one of the, we're setting ourselves with some like pretty lofty goals, but more importantly, some pretty serious standards. 10 cents per word for every single writer is what we're going to be doing for our writers. So we're going to be working with freelancers, and that's going to be our standard. That's going to be reflected in the cost of the book. It's going to be reflected in some of the pricing models. So Mondo Cane Publishing books are not going to be cheap, but they are going to be high quality.
10 cents per word is way above the usual industry standard. That's pretty incredible right there, and that's very, very respectable.
It needs to be the standard, and until people start making it the standard, it won't happen. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do it.
Yeah, and we know that we can do it because we've worked with other publishers. Apotheosis Studios did 10 cents per word with us. And when we asked, we're like, can we ask that? Like, what do we ask? Like 6 cents, 7 cents?
Are you sure, Mark?
Yeah, it's like, let's shoot high, and then maybe they can talk us down, and we'll be fine with 7 cents. And we said, can we do 10 cents per word? And Rick Hines is said, yeah, sure. Like, it was nothing. And then, we worked with, some other publishers, and they said the same thing. So we were seeing a trend that yes was an answer every single time, which shows to me, why are there these other companies that are saying no to 10 cents per word? It doesn't have to be that high, but we're talking 3 cents to 5 cents per word. And I think, honestly, part of it has to do with the fact that you have, I'm going to make some pretty, I don't want to get myself into trouble, but there's a standard with these companies where they run very, very thin with like 3 to 5 people on the core team, and those are the people that end up getting all of that profit. I have a day job. It's a very good day job. I'm blessed and privileged enough to have a day job that keeps, food on the table, to feed my family, to have a roof over the head. And I'm not going to turn that off and stop working that job while doing Mondo Cane. So Mondo Cane is definitely going to be a passion project while I also have my real job or day job. So we'll be able to do things like, okay, I'm not selling this book because I'm hungry. I'm selling this book because I'm passionate.
Yeah, and you love the industry, telling stories, and being respectful of the people's time who are on our core team. Yeah. Do not set a set ship date, especially when shipping dates around the world and the whole process is being kind of slowed down. So expect when we do launch books and Kickstarters to see more of like a Q1 delivery, because we all have lives, we have day jobs, families, and the people on our team, we want to treat them right, pay them well. One thing we like to see is we saw a lot of Kickstarter goals that were a lot of content, but over the last year they've included some that were, hey, we want to pay our writing team more or our art team more, and
yeah, that's what I was going to piggyback off of. Is basically it is definitely a trend that I've really been enjoying seeing. I just got off of a project with Mora, the cinematic game system by another indie publisher, Mighty Narwhal. And what was really cool about the way they did the book is, me and the other artists they hired, we got paid first, and they made sure we're like, we want to give you your full rate. And the core team of writers was flat out just like, look, we are not paying ourselves until our freelancers and our artists get paid first, because we understand that you guys are doing all of this work up front. You don't know if you're going to see your return, and we don't want to be those people paying you on the back end. That is basically, for those listening, an industry term where after things get done and made, you get a percentage of a percentage, and maybe you'll see like $10 out of it or something like that. Because usually the unfortunate thing is indie titles don't run the giant numbers that the mainstay titles do. But what was really cool is that, as each Kickstarter milestone was hit, it was literally that thing of, hey, we're going to raise our per word count for our writers. So that way you get, all of our writers get a raise. And it makes you feel good also as a consumer, because it's like, cool, I'm backing this project, and in raising these goals, the people who are making the thing are actually getting paid a far more decent wage than just labor of love.
I do enjoy the stretch goal that helps that gives the raises to the artists or the writers and everything else. But at the same time, I feel like I can't help but to feel a little weird about how that's become a necessary addition instead of like an industry push for everyone going, this is not easy. And we're probably going to take a little bit of a loss for a shorter period of time. But if we all, as an industry, push to make sure that the people who are actually doing the pushing of the pens and the brushes to get paid, and I think that's one step of it. The stretch goal thing is one step of that. But if everyone starts doing that, I think that it'll help normalize that, especially with our rate of inflation, the high cost of paper. There's a paper shortage going on right now. Printing and shipping right now is not only slow, it's also more expensive. So we have to adjust.
That's really interesting and great things to consider. Now, one thing I want to get the insight on from Jen and Joe, and also Mondo Kane in general, but I'm not sure how much you can really talk about this at the moment, is kind of talking about the visuals and graphic design. Because when we look at traditional publishing with, say just like novel publishers, the big publishing companies in New York, they're really just in the business of moving dead trees. That's really what they care about, is how many dead trees can we sell. But here with RPGs, really focused on experiences, and the visuals are a large part of that. So I was wondering what insight the two of you could give, both from publishing books and making shirts, or just running a stream, how much the visuals kind of play into getting people involved, getting people excited, and how that development can kind of originate with the games.
Oh boy, because I'm not currently publishing anything right now, but I try to use every free tool that I can find, because I do know how expensive it is for graphic design, and I am not an artiste. I did not do well in graphics class or any of that, so you're not going to get it out of me. So what I've been doing for my players and for the people who follow the stream, and I started making the renditions of how I expected or assumed them to be in my head through Artbreeder. Artbreeder has been really helpful with me, and I've been able to not punch out sounds rude. I've been able to sit there arduously for hours creating the perfect person so people can see who they are and get that visual representation, so they can okay, so this is the low life I want to punch in the chest. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, this is how he looks, and this is his quirk and whatnot. And I put it on Instagram so they can, if for not just my players, but for anybody who follows River Region Studios or the story and want to know, well, how does Baron so-and-so look? And I'm like, there they are right there. And I put NPCs up there too. Again, I try to use every free tool if I can. For the stream itself, I ask people, and some people are really kind, and there's like, Joe, you've been really helpful. We love you. I'll do this for you for free. And I'm like, okay, that takes money out of my pocket. Or, and usually I'm Southern, so I'm just like, I have to pay you something. I have to. And then usually people are just like, no. And I'm like, I have to pay you something. Even if it's like, I can give you money to go to Burger King. I'm usually very hard about accepting things like that, people just being kind, because it's still a new phenomenon for me, people actually being genuinely kind to me. I don't think I'm not that big of a person, so I'm just like, you doing this means more than platinum, tungsten, all the rare metals. So that's how I've usually been doing every free tool I can possibly find. And networking, talking to good people, building up that trust with people. And usually if they've just not really met me, or they heard of me, I was like, I'll offer my services, and you run a game with me in it, and you'll see how you do. And usually I get a good return. A lot of people are just like, wow, never thought about that. You should hang with us. You should hang with us, and we'll do what we need for you, all that good stuff.
Well, yeah, so basically, again, like I admit, as an artist, I have very biased opinions about the importance of art and books. But basically, the bummer of the thing is that, as much as people say don't judge a book by its cover, everybody judges books by their cover. I one of the many odd jobs I've had is also doing art for board games, and I lurk on some retailer groups, and retailers will specifically look at board games and be like, I can't have this in my store because this does not draw eyeballs. So it's the same thing too for like tabletop games. Like you think about like, what draws your eye to look at what this book is about. And as an artist and a designer, it is very important that you have like 3 seconds or whatever to capture somebody's attention enough to make them take that leap and that chance to pick that book off the shelf, open it up, and determine what's inside it. So like what was when I did the logo for Necrobiotic, it was very much a thing where there's this beautiful image that they have of the person with the tear down their face, and it says so much about what this book is, and it's really eye-capturing. If you are listening to this, please just Google Necrobiotic. It's a gorgeous image. And with logo design, you really want it to be able to stand out on its own, so but also not be something that will overwhelm the cover. You need it to be supportive of the thing and make it look cohesive as part of the mainstay piece. So like I went through like so many different iterations to try to like find that perfect thing that could like, yeah, exactly, support what it was, while similarly like being something visually interesting that can stick out in your mind as like, ooh, this was really cool. I want to know more.
It's almost like you're walking down the street and you're passing by a number of restaurants.
Yeah.
You're going to go to the one that smells amazing. Tabletop role-playing games are evocative of all the senses. Maybe not so much touch, unless you like to hold a book or whatever. But like you said, Jen, you got like 3 seconds to sell this. The book's going to have a ton of words, tons of mechanics, tons of lore to read, but you're not going to get there until you see something that speaks to your mind, whether it's the visuals, the layout.
Well, the other thing I really want to say, and again, something that has been something up and coming in the industry as things have changed and people are becoming more open, is that art directors are finally at this place of like, hey, we want to be really more inclusive with different body types, people of color, different sexualities and stuff like that. The reason I love working with Mighty Narwhal is they were just like every ridiculous idea I had, they were just completely like, go for it, just do it. So like, and the brief specifically was like, we don't want to see like thin white people in every single thing. So I had the pieces I was doing for the book. It's very cinematic themed, and so they were all storyboards, which was really cool because in illustrating the schools of magic instead of a still image, it's a storyboard. So it also helps the people playing the game see visually what this would look like as they're role playing it out. So for the necromancy magic, my idea was to have a plus size woman in a husband killer robe raising the husband that she killed to continue to serve her.
Iconic.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, and it was one of those like, again, really dumb 3 a.m. ideas where I'm just like, I'm captured by this image of like having this like gorgeous plus size woman doing this thing. And my art director was like, do it. But what was really, really cool about it, though, is like when I put it out there as one of the teaser images, I got so many comments from all these other women who were just like, I have never seen my body type represented in this way, in a way where I'm sexy. I'm powerful.
Or even like, oh well, I have to play the weird looking orc. Like
Yeah.
I was a weird shaped snaggletooth kid, so it's like I guess I'll be the goblin again. But when you're going through these books and you see like yourself or other types of people, first of all, it feels more real because that's how reality is.
Yes.
Right? Like we're walking around this convention, there's various different types of people from various different backgrounds, of various different colors, and so seeing that reflected in the books is extremely important. And at the same time, you don't feel alienated
Exactly.
because it's like, oh, I can be sexy, I can be a hero, I don't have to be comic relief, I can be like this super uber brooding
Yeah.
person
And I
that
and
looks
I
like me.
I think that like that is something that's also really important about the art in these books is that, again, because you can write down like, oh yeah, this is an all-inclusive table, blah 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 blah, but seeing it,
Yeah.
and having it physically in front of you, and again, with that thing of like, this is a commitment. We're not just saying a thing, like we are showing you that this is the real world of this fantasy world that you're playing in.
We're going to use tabletop role playing games to trick you into role playing to love yourself. So
I
Stay tuned.
support that. I support that. And I wanted to piggyback off what you were saying, Mark, about and what you said about how having representation in there and having it actually not be like a comic relief or like you being pigeonholed into these certain type of roles. Literally just came from a panel about that yesterday, talking about being a black person playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then you're describing your character, particularly if you like elves, because I love elves.
Right.
And they were like, oh, they're brown and they're dark, and they was like, oh, a drow, and they immediately push you into that drow. And I was
Right.
like, no, it's a black person who is an elf. And they was like, well, that's not canonically. I was like, well, you're playing elves and dwarfs and orcs. It has to be.
Yeah,
It- you have-
it is now.
It is now.
Typically, it wasn't, and that was weird that it wasn't, but it is now.
And then that's what I did with my vampire stories. Like when
Yeah.
I was talking, well, you mentioned you got comments. I've gotten a lot of comments and like personal DMs from people who've seen the show, particularly a lot of black folks. They were just like, this is so refreshing to see black people as black people, not as caricatures or like how media representation of black people
Yeah.
as being thuggish and criminal and all stuff like these people are, of course, monsters because they're vampires, but there is like the outside world is in this story, but it's not that it's heavily saturated to that point that people are just like, this is a little too real. Like
Yeah.
I try to get away from all of that because I was like, people need to be represented. And I've also gotten comments that are like, why are the white people evil? And I was like, they're not necessarily evil. I don't try to do that. It's just when you mentioned earlier about how you see these people and you're just like, they look like people you can know.
Yeah.
A lot of these people, particularly everybody that I've created, NPC wise, anything, is like, these are people that I have met in life. Particularly the Baron that everybody loathes, Myra, who's a Ventru, a former, she was a plantation owner's daughter, and she was high society, and they hate her simply because of that. And she is one of those people that makes that wonderful comment that white people like to make. She said, I'm not racist, all my workers are black. And all her workers are black. But she's just like, immediately when I said that, people were just like, okay, is she able to die? And I was like, I mean, you can try to kill her, and then someone has tried to, but watch the story to find out what happened with that. But I do try to put representation of people. There are people who are queer. There are people who are not, I guess, physically what people consider physically attractive. There are people, and they're not just pushed into Nosferatu. They're just like average people who are out there and walk in the streets, who they meet. They met Duncan, the frat boy. He was experimenting with makeup, and he cut his hair, and he liked to drink a lot, and he partied, and everybody was like, and then he became a vampire. And he
Yeah.
never lost that humanity side.
Well, I think that's important, especially kind of goes back to that question about art. You know, it's there. These are referential points, and you can have like a list of in a book, a bulleted list on white paper of here's what the game is. Here's some descriptors. Here are the mechanics, but without the artwork, there's there really isn't any real referential points to really fully understand what the world feels like, how you're supposed to interact with the lore or with the scene or with the people that you're playing with. What is like tonally, it sets the tone, it sets the mood, and it is through the lens and perspective of the people that do develop the game. So if we have a few values on our website that we've specifically etched out. That includes underlining the importance of having a diverse set of people with a diverse set of ideas and perspectives in order to make our games feel livable, that you can live in the setting because it feels real. Otherwise, you're just living in this really unusually accidental power fantasy of someone who just doesn't want a particular type of person in their game or in their world, and it turns into a really ugly place unless you're really, really purposeful about including all walks of life.
It's like you can't explore strange new worlds if you don't respect and love the one that you have that's real.
All right. So I think Jen's taking off right now. Bye, Jen. But I did want to start kind of wrapping up the episode. And that was all really great content. I really appreciate the, just honest discussion of everything. So you just handed off the mic, and I'm about to be like, so Mark and Rick, I don't know, how much you can really talk about and announce, but do you want to just give at least some kind of vague foretelling of what might be coming next for Mondo Game Publishing?
Yeah. So right now we are we're doing a lot of guest writing and content support for other game developers. But we've really been focusing on bringing the team together. So after PAX, you can expect we're going to be kind of teasing out announcements of each new person that's joined our team. We have not filled all of, I guess, positions of our structure. So we're still one of the goals that we have is to, get some of those people talking with us to see if there's somebody who can kind of fill those little gaps that we have. But after PAX, starting this week, probably the first announcement is going to be made, and then week by week, and we're going to be announcing everybody. Q1, we're going to have our first game announcement. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to be releasing a game. It means that we're going to be announcing the method, the channel in which we're doing the crowdfunding, what the game is going to be, a short descriptor, and then just start kind of building a little bit of a buzz. We have a game system that we've already designed and worked through months. Even a year. I think it was a year ago when we finished that game system, right?
Yep, and we were hoping to implement it, or will implement it, with all of the games that we design that are our own personal IP.
Yeah, so when you play one Mondo Kane publishing game, you can play them all because you know exactly what the system's like.
And for those dice goblins out there, it's going to use the standard D&D 7 set of dice. So
yeah,
if you've got some kind of crazy moon opal that you bought from PAX Unplugged and other great dice places, you can use them with our games.
Yeah.
And still feel like you made good on your investment.
Yeah, that was actually a big part of us developing that game system because there's so many people investing in the click-clacks that they love so much, and it's like, well, I could play D&D and then maybe one other game that is based on D&D, and that's about it. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to look at the market, see how people are buying these things, and want to add value to the dice that they're buying. So I think the first game is going to be probably a little noir, maybe a little sci-fi, and a little bit of horror mixed in. But we're going to be developing games that are in science fiction, in high and low fantasy, comedy. Yeah, tongue-in-cheek satire. We're basically going to be developing games that are evocative of the strange and occult, and that venerate esotericism. Unusual, fun, fantastical things. So, don't be surprised if at some point you see a kids game from us. Don't be surprised if someday, you see not just tarot cards but also playing cards. So we have some pretty big long-term goals.
Yeah, and supplements and tools for GMs and players alike to get those creative juices flowing. All of this is because people love to tell stories. We love to tell stories, and we want to see the industry not only grow but to support the people that are in it. So this is kind of our way of championing that cause.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's all stuff that I think is going to really interest listeners of Darker Days Radio. So I think everyone's going to really appreciate that. So Rick, where can people find Mondo Kane Publishing?
You can find us on Twitter at I think it's just at Mondo Cane Publishing.
It's at Mondo Cane Pub.
Mondo Cane Pub. Darn Twitter limits.
Yeah. And what's the website?
Website is mondocanepublishing.com, and you can find me at there and everywhere Mondo Cane is, as well as at Oops Allsetite, which is pretty much my handle all over the place.
You can find me on Twitter at Marchosius with 5s instead of S's, but I'm more concerned about you following at Mondo Cane Pub. That's the primary vehicle of output of information between the Twitter account and our website, mondocanepublishing.com. We also have a Facebook, but I think Twitter is going to be the main organic channel of promotions. We have blogs that we're putting out one blog every month at least, and we're being as transparent as possible with everybody, and we're going to start treating it like a game dev diary so that, as we're developing these games, people know what's going on and hopefully maybe use it if they want to do something on their own and get insights from it.
Awesome. And we mentioned that Jen had to leave, but you can check out her work over at savagesparrow.com. In fact, there is a t-shirt design right here that is a raccoon in sunglasses with a gold chain that says "Eat trash, do crime," and I'm going to go buy that right now.
Jen has some amazing designs, and it's just a wonderful person.
And for all the listeners out there, this is Darker Days Radio. You can check us out over at darker-days.org and all the other places. And, take it easy, have a good night, and stay safe out there. This has been an episode of Darker Days Radio. Special thanks to Occam's Laser for the intro, outro, and new bumper music from their hit album, 9 Circles. Check out the rest of their work at occamslaser.bandcamp.com.